In the quiet corners of existence where the ordinary meets the unseen, there lies a truth many overlook. Every substance, every element carries within it a hidden nature. Salt, humble and crystalline, holds a memory of the earth, a permanence that resists decay. Urine, a byproduct of life, carries the imprint of our inner balance, the reflection of what nourishes and what is expelled. When these two meet, something subtle yet profound occurs, something that whispers to the mind if one is attentive. Life often teaches us in ways we cannot immediately see. We are drawn to the tangible, to what can be held or tasted, and yet the invisible reactions shape our world quietly, persistently. Salt and urine, when combined, engage in a silent conversation, one that speaks not in noise but in transformation. This meeting is more than chemistry, it is a reflection of the law of cause and effect, of how even the simplest acts carry consequences. What is released from this union may surprise the unobservant, but it mirrors the larger pattern of existence where every action ripples outward in ways we cannot fully predict. To witness this is to cultivate mindfulness. Observe without attachment, note without judgment, and understand that what arises from the union of elements is neither good nor evil, it simply is. The change is subtle yet instructive. It reminds us that every interaction, however small or dismissed, has the power to alter the balance of what is around it. Our own actions are no different. Just as salt interacts with urine, our words, thoughts and deeds intermingle with the lives of others, producing effects that may not be visible immediately but are felt in time. There is wisdom in curiosity, yet wisdom is not in mere experimentation without reflection. When we explore the hidden sciences of nature, let us do so with respect and attentiveness. Let us notice the reactions that are silent yet significant, learning from them as we learn from life itself. The union of salt and urine is not a spectacle but a teacher. It reminds us that the world operates in a delicate web, that every element interacts, and that understanding comes not from forcing outcomes but from patient observation. In contemplating such simple substances, we are invited to contemplate ourselves. What hidden reactions lie within our own minds and bodies, waiting for recognition? How do our inner impurities interact with the purifying elements of awareness and intention? The mystery of salt and urine becomes a mirror, showing that the most ordinary materials, when observed with care, reveal profound truths about impermanence, interconnection, and the subtle energy of transformation. Thus, let this knowledge remain a quiet lamp in the mind, illuminating not for boast or fear, but for gentle understanding. In the hidden dance of salt and urine, in the silent transformation that unfolds, we are reminded that all things, however simple, carry the potential to teach, to reveal, and to awaken insight if we look with eyes unclouded by haste, desire, or distraction. Hidden nature of everyday substances, even the simplest elements like salt and urine, carry unseen properties and potential reactions that reflect the subtle laws of cause and effect in the world. Even in the most ordinary objects, there is a depth that often escapes the inattentive mind. Salt, so simple in appearance, with its crystalline structure and common presence on dining tables, carries the memory of mountains, of oceans evaporated, and of the long journeys of the earth itself. It is not merely seasoning, it is a force of preservation, a substance that resists decay and holds balance within its structure. Urine, often dismissed and overlooked, is more than waste. It is a mirror of the body and a pos inner workings, a reflection of nourishment, of elimination of life, and a pos ongoing process of taking in and letting go. When these two elements are brought together, the interaction is quiet, uncelebrated, yet significant. The change is not loud, it is subtle, almost imperceptible, but it exists nonetheless. In this there is a lesson for those who are willing to see that the hidden nature of all things often carries truths about the world that are not immediately obvious. The ordinary is never truly ordinary. Everything holds a duality, a surface that is apparent to the senses, and a deeper layer that speaks only to those who observe patiently. When salt meets urine, the union is not merely chemical, it is symbolic of the hidden dynamics that govern existence. Each grain of salt, each drop of fluid participates in a transformation governed by the fundamental laws of nature. One cannot see the entire effect at once, and yet if one studies carefully, one becomes aware of the impermanence and the constant motion within even the simplest substances. There is a rhythm to all things, a way in which the universe unfolds quietly, moment by moment, action by action. The reaction between salt and urine, though modest and perhaps unremarkable to the casual observer, is a window into this deeper rhythm. To notice such interactions is to practice mindfulness. To recognize the hidden nature of everyday substances is to awaken to the truth that everything in the world has a purpose, a reaction, a consequence. There is wisdom in acknowledging that even the humblest of elements can teach us about impermanence, about cause and effect, and about the interwoven web of existence. When one approaches life with awareness, one sees that the unseen is as powerful, if not more so, than the seen. Each particle, each drop, carries within it a lesson waiting to be understood. Thus, the hidden nature of salt and urine is a metaphor for life itself. Nothing is as simple as it appears. The universe is alive with quiet interactions, with subtle exchanges, with transformations that occur beyond our immediate perception. To engage with the ordinary in this way is to cultivate insight, to recognize that the smallest and most overlooked elements hold profound truths. In this recognition, one learns patience, humility, and the art of seeing beyond appearances, discovering in the hidden, silent movements of nature a reflection of the greater mysteries of existence. The power of observation. True understanding comes from mindful observation. By witnessing the interaction of substances without judgment, one cultivates awareness of the silent transformations around and within us. Observation is not merely the act of seeing, it is the practice of being present, fully attentive to the subtle movements of life that often go unnoticed. To observe is to witness without interference, to notice without the urgency to change or judge. In the meeting of salt and urine, there is a lesson for those who look with care. At first glance, the substances appear ordinary, mundane, almost insignificant. Yet, when observed with patience and awareness, their interaction reveals layers of transformation, minute but meaningful. Each shift, each reaction, though invisible to a hurried eye, is a testament to the hidden forces that operate in silence. In learning to watch, one cultivates a mind that is still, receptive, and attuned to the flow of reality, understanding that not all truths announce themselves with drama or noise. Life often moves with quiet insistence. Many pass through the world seeing only the surface of things, unaware of the currents that guide existence. The simple act of combining salt and urine becomes a meditation on perception. It challenges one to look beyond the obvious and to appreciate that every phenomenon carries within it a story waiting to be discovered. To observe is to honor the natural world, to recognize that every interaction, however humble, participates in a greater tapestry of cause and effect. In this attentiveness, one begins to understand that the ordinary holds extraordinary insights if only one has the patience to remain present and attentive. The power of observation extends beyond physical substances. It reflects the way we engage with life itself. Just as the subtle reaction between salt and urine requires careful attention to be noticed, so too do the subtle shifts within our own minds and the lives of others demand mindfulness. Every thought, every emotion, every action produces ripples that extend outward, often in directions we cannot immediately perceive. To cultivate the ability to observe is to awaken to these ripples, to become aware of their presence, and to understand the interconnectedness of all things. Observation becomes a bridge between the visible and the invisible, between what is apparent and what is real. Patience is essential to this practice. To observe truly is to let go of expectation, to release the desire for immediate understanding or reward. It is to accept that some truths reveal themselves slowly through quiet reflection and sometimes only in retrospect. The union of salt and urine in its silent transformation embodies this principle. Nothing forces the reaction, nothing hurries its process. It unfolds according to its nature, a gentle reminder that the world moves in accordance with laws deeper than our impatience or judgment. Through attentive observation, one cultivates clarity and insight. One begins to notice the delicate interplay of forces that shape life, both within and without. The power of observation teaches that to see deeply is to understand that the world is alive with hidden dynamics, that every interaction has significance, and that the ordinary, when watched with care, becomes a doorway to profound understanding. In this, the mind learns to remain still, receptive, and open, discovering in silence the wisdom that the surface alone could never reveal. Cause and effect in action. Every interaction, however small, produces consequences. Just as salt and urine react, our actions, thoughts, and words ripple outward, shaping outcomes beyond immediate perception. Every interaction carries with it a consequence, whether immediate or delayed, visible or hidden. The meeting of salt and urine is a simple yet profound example of this universal law. When these substances combine, they do not merely coexist, they transform one another in subtle ways. This transformation is neither good nor bad, it simply occurs, following the natural tendencies inherent in their being. In observing this, one begins to understand that the world is governed by cause and effect, by a delicate balance in which every action produces a result. Nothing exists in isolation. Just as the salt and urine react in quiet, imperceptible ways, so too do our thoughts, words, and deeds ripple outward, touching lives, situations, and even the environment in ways we may never fully perceive. The principle of cause and effect is not always immediate or obvious. Often the consequences of actions unfold slowly, like ripples across a still pond, extending far beyond the initial point of contact. The union of salt and urine, when witnessed attentively, becomes a metaphor for this truth. The reaction may seem minor, almost inconsequential, yet it is part of a continuous chain of interactions. Life, like this subtle chemical interplay, is composed of countless interwoven actions, each shaping the world in ways both visible and invisible. Recognizing this pattern encourages mindfulness, teaching that what we release into the world, be it a word, a thought, or a deed, will inevitably return in some form, shaping our experience and the experiences of those around us. To truly comprehend cause and effect, one must cultivate awareness. One must pause before acting, considering not only the immediate outcome but the broader implications. In the quiet interaction of salt and urine, one observes that even the smallest act produces change. This teaches humility, for it reminds us that nothing we do occurs in a vacuum. Every choice, no matter how trivial it may seem, contributes to the unfolding of the world. There is a sacredness in this understanding, a recognition that life is a continuous dialogue of actions and consequences, each linked to the next in a seamless chain that extends beyond the scope of any single moment. Understanding cause and effect also fosters responsibility. To observe the transformation between salt and urine is to see that neglect or carelessness can have effects, just as attentiveness and wisdom can produce beneficial results. Life rewards those who act with care, who consider the impact of their actions, and who respect the natural laws that govern all interactions. In this way, the reaction of simple substances becomes a mirror of our own behavior. It teaches that even when outcomes are not immediately visible, they exist nonetheless, waiting to manifest according to the principles that govern the universe. Ultimately, the principle of cause and effect is a guide to mindful living. It reminds us that life is not random, that actions matter, and that understanding this law leads to wisdom. Just as salt alters the properties of urine in quiet, subtle ways, so too do our actions influence the world. By observing, reflecting, and acting with awareness, one can navigate life with clarity, recognizing that every moment is an opportunity to engage consciously with the unfolding web of cause and effect. In this awareness lies a profound freedom, a freedom born from understanding that every act is both a seed and a response, a beginning and an effect, part of the eternal rhythm of existence. Lessons in patience and reflection, exploring hidden phenomena, teaches respect, patience, and attentiveness. Transformation occurs quietly, reminding us that insight comes not from forcing outcomes but from careful, reflective engagement. Patience is a quiet teacher, one that asks little yet gives much. In the subtle interaction of salt and urine, one sees a reflection of this virtue. The reaction does not announce itself with urgency or spectacle, it unfolds slowly in accordance with its own natural rhythm. To witness it fully requires attentiveness, a stillness of mind, and the willingness to wait without expectation. Life mirrors this process in countless ways. Many seek immediate results, hurriedly grasping for answers or outcomes, yet true understanding rarely reveals itself in haste. The union of salt and urine teaches that transformation, whether in matter or in consciousness, unfolds in its own time. Patience allows one to observe this unfolding without interference, to honor the process rather than demand a premature conclusion. Reflection accompanies patience as its silent partner. To reflect is to turn the mind inward, to consider not only what occurs externally but also what arises within. When one observes a quiet reaction, the mind learns to contemplate without judgment, to notice without distortion. Each subtle change, each small effect becomes a mirror for one and a pulse in a state. By watching patiently, one cultivates insight into the hidden patterns of life, understanding that every phenomenon carries a lesson for those willing to look deeply. The seemingly trivial reaction between salt and urine becomes, through reflection, a teacher of mindfulness, a prompt to recognize that even the simplest occurrences are rich with meaning if approached with awareness. Patience and reflection together foster a wisdom that cannot be hurried. They teach that the world operates according to rhythms and laws beyond our control, and that to interfere impatiently is often to obscure understanding rather than enhance it. In observing the interaction of these humble substances, one is reminded that the results of action, thought, or intention may not be immediate. Sometimes the significance of an event only becomes apparent after careful contemplation, after a period of quiet attentiveness. The slow, deliberate unfolding of natural processes encourages a mind that is receptive rather than reactive, thoughtful rather than impulsive. Moreover, patience and reflection cultivate humility. By recognizing that some truths cannot be forced, one learns to let go of ego and desire, to accept the limits of control, and to trust in the wisdom inherent in the natural order. The reaction of salt and urine, subtle yet undeniable, becomes a symbol of this principle, that life and processes proceed according to their own laws, and that the mind must learn to align with these rhythms rather than resist them. In this alignment lies a deeper understanding, a connection to the flow of existence itself. Through patience, one discovers the art of careful observation. Through reflection, the depth of insight emerges. Both together nurture clarity and composure, enabling one to engage with the world from a place of equanimity and understanding. In witnessing even the most ordinary interactions like the meeting of salt and urine, one realizes that profound wisdom often arises from quiet attention and thoughtful contemplation. Life in its infinite complexity reveals its lessons not in haste but in measured, reflective moments, teaching that the path to understanding is as much about stillness as it is about discovery. Inner reflection and interconnection, observing external reactions mirrors our inner world. Understanding subtle interactions helps illuminate impermanence, interconnectedness, and the hidden dynamics within ourselves. Every interaction in the external world mirrors a deeper reality within. When observing the quiet meeting of salt and urine, one may at first see only a simple chemical or physical reaction, but beneath this surface lies a profound lesson about interconnectedness. Just as these substances affect one another in subtle ways, so too are all beings and phenomena linked in an intricate web of cause and response. Nothing exists in isolation. Every thought, every feeling, every action radiates outward, touching the lives of others and reflecting back upon oneself. To contemplate this is to awaken to the truth that the external and internal worlds are inseparable, that the processes of nature echo the patterns of the mind, and that awareness of these connections brings both insight and responsibility. Inner reflection begins with noticing. In the interaction of salt and urine, there is a subtle dialogue that invites the mind to look inward. What forces within ourselves respond to the circumstances we encounter? What impurities, what clarity, what intentions shape the way we act and react? By observing the transformation that occurs externally, we gain a mirror for our internal processes. We see that every internal reaction, every impulse or restraint has consequences, just as the elements themselves influence one another. The practice of reflection transforms ordinary observation into wisdom, revealing the threads that connect cause and effect within and without. This awareness of interconnection extends compassion. When one recognizes that actions are not isolated but part of a larger flow, it becomes impossible to act carelessly without consequence. The subtle effects of the meeting of salt and urine remind us that even the smallest influences matter. In life, words spoken in haste, thoughts harbored in secrecy, and intentions left unattended ripple outward in ways that may be invisible but are never absent. By understanding the interconnectedness of all things, we cultivate sensitivity to the impact of our choices, learning to navigate existence with greater care, thoughtfulness, and empathy. Interconnection also teaches humility. The reaction between salt and urine is guided by natural laws far beyond human command, just as the universe moves according to principles that we cannot fully control. Recognizing that we are part of this vast network fosters a sense of harmony rather than dominance. Our lives are shaped not only by what we do, but by countless unseen interactions with others, with nature, and with the currents of existence itself. By contemplating these connections, we learn to respect the balance of all things and to act in alignment with the rhythms of life, rather than against them. Finally, inner reflection and interconnection invite us to cultivate awareness as a continuous practice. Every moment holds the potential to observe, understand, and harmonize with the flow of life. The ordinary act of witnessing a subtle reaction becomes a meditation on our own inner workings and on the interdependent nature of the universe. Through this lens, even the most overlooked phenomena become sacred teachers, guiding the mind toward clarity, compassion, and insight. By embracing this truth, we discover that wisdom is not found in grand gestures alone, but in the attentive, reflective engagement with the smallest interactions, where the hidden connections of life quietly reveal themselves and awaken understanding that is at once personal and universal.